My UCAT test day experience went a little bit like this. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Darren, a first year medical student studying at Monash University here in Melbourne, Australia. Now, UCAT testing period has begun, so I thought I'd share my UCAT test day experience with you guys so that you can have some insight into the day and better visualize the whole process so that you can feel more comfortable and be more prepared going into the test. If you're curious, my UCAT results were these, and combined with my 99.95 ATAR and my interview were enough to get me into undergraduate medicine at Monash University. Now for me, it's the uni holidays at the moment, so I will be releasing videos every second day. It's tiring, but I really enjoy it, and there are some very hefty UCAT videos coming out in the next week and in the coming days as well. So please stay tuned for those and support the channel. So today's video will be split into 4 parts. In the first part, I'll be talking about the location and time of my test. In the second part, I'll be talking about immediately before the test, so my emotions and all the procedures involved. In the third part, I'll be talking about during the test, and in the fourth part, I'll be talking about my feelings and everything that happened after the test. Enjoy. Part 1, the location and time of my exam. So I'll just tell you what they are and then I'll go into more depth about them. So location, Fitzroy, time July the 1st, the early possible date, and at 10 AM. So with regards to the location, Fitzroy, there wasn't any particular reason that I picked it. I think the other places may have been booked for that day, or maybe that they only had my time. But anyway, Fitzroy was pretty far from my house. There were other closer places, but I don't regret picking it at all. It was a very nice place. It was really difficult to find. I actually went there the day before to try and find where it was and had to ask a lot of people there. But inside it's very clean, and because not many people pick Fitzroy to do their exam, I was the only person in the entire room. So there were other computers in my room, but I was the only person there, which was really nice, had some peace and quiet. I know other people, they had 4 or 5 people in their room, and maybe you're in the zone and you don't really hear them, but I just really enjoyed being by myself, sitting there, and there was a window with blinds, and just a nice environment, all white and very clean. And with my time, July 1st and 10 AM. So with July 1st, I picked the earliest possible day because for Scotch, our midterm holidays are 3 weeks, and July the 1st I think lay somewhere either at the end of the first week or sort of between the first and second week. And that meant that I had enough time to prepare beforehand. I know some schools start early July, which means that if you book yours really early, then it means that you don't have much of your holidays to prepare for it. But Scotch was good in that regard. And so I wanted to get it done early so I could move on to my SACs, move on to my exams. And I felt like a week of intensive UCAT training was enough, should get me over the line without taking away from my VCE subjects. And also turned out that people who booked really late got delayed a month to August. So I was quite happy I got it out of the way before SACs and all that. With the time, 10 AM, I do recommend sitting it early. There is something to be said about sitting the exam when you perform best, or when you usually do your practice exams, which is quite useful. But I just feel like morning's useful. You're quite fresh, get it out of the way. Whereas if you put it in the afternoon, you get more nervous, you might get tired, all the wear and tear of the day might get to you. So those are the reasons why I picked the location and the time. Right before the UCAT test. So my preparation, immediate preparation, actually began a day beforehand. I went to the place to try and find it, and it took me a while, so it was very worthwhile, I think, to suss out where it is. I had to ask a lot of people. It was crazy hard to find. I even ended up in a bar and they had to show me directions. Yeah. And once I was there, I had a look at the computers. They let me have a look, just so I could sort of see the keyboard, see the layout, see what the buttons do in case I click something wrong. And especially the number pad is particularly useful. And I even went to another computer store afterwards just to check out that same keyboard. It was a bit paranoid. I don't think that's that necessary, but I was a bit nervous, so I did all that. However, I do think it's very worth it to go to your testing center and check it out and know where it is, so that there's none of that last minute rush the next day or on your test day. On the day of the exam, I was quite nervous because in part because it's the UCAT, and because for me, I felt that my ATAR was very solid with my subjects and all that, and you can check out all my videos on VC up there. But for the UCAT, I felt because of the time pressure, it was quite variable, and also because there were some mocks which I didn't do that well in. I didn't get like the percentile I wanted, and particularly for abstract reasoning and situational judgment, there were some pretty poor performances by me in the mocks leading up to the exam, which were quite worrying. And so I didn't want to do that much before the actual exam, so right before it, and I highly recommend you guys do this as well. So even if you might be like me and you're stressing and you didn't do that well in your mocks, I recommend, you really got to take it back a bit and not do anything, or like me, I just did abstract reasoning questions because they're relatively chill. I just went through them, tried to find the pattern. If I didn't, I wouldn't get too concerned. I'd just move on and just relaxedly answer those questions. And I was doing that whole day, like intermittently throughout the day, and in the car all the way to Fitzroy. At the testing facility, I saw my friend, which is pretty cool. We got there quite early, a bit before the lady invigilator actually came, so we were standing outside for a bit. But yeah, I did some of my abstract reasoning questions. I tried to calm myself down, and then we went upstairs when the invigilator came. There's some checks you have to do beforehand. I think they take a photo of you, and they take some of your belongings and all that. They don't give you your marker and your whiteboard, at least at my facility, until it's time to go in. And I use the toilet a lot as well. And it's good to locate yourself and calm yourself down in that period of time. One thing to note, it is a staggered start. So my friend was the only person in front of me that day. So he got in about, I think, 10-15 minutes maybe before me. So he was partway through verbal reasoning by the time I got invited to go in. Once you're in the room, one thing to note, and some people might not know, is that you don't have to start the test immediately. So the invigilator doesn't just click begin test and throw you into the deep. You can click it when you want. And I think this is particularly useful if you're in a room with other people. I think that sometimes distracts you and makes you feel a bit disorientated and nervous, seeing other people so intense. I think it's good for you to really calm down and focus and be very grounded in the moment. You'd hate to click begin test and the minute starts counting down and you start getting really panicky and thinking about, oh wow, this is the UCAT. So really make sure you're focused. You're not going to have any regrets about clicking begin test, and just prepare yourself. Have your whiteboard marker and your whiteboard next to you. Have everything placed well. Sit comfortably, wearing the clothes that are comfortable, and then get ready to begin. For me personally, I just kind of sat there and looked at the screen and just breathed in and out until I felt completely comfortable for especially the intense verbal reasoning section, and then I just clicked begin test and got straight into it. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to note is that you can wear earplugs. I think they offer earplugs. I didn't. I was the only person in my room anyway. But I don't know if earplugs appeal to you guys, but it is an option. I wouldn't advise you to use them if you haven't used them before. They're not that necessary. I got them and I just had them on my table in case I needed to use them. Alright, next part, the process itself. So, at the start, when I began verbal reasoning, I remember like reading and like answering questions, but I think throughout you start getting more into the zone. So you kind of want to just think about the question in front of you. You don't want to dwell on questions you haven't done before, especially you don't want to dwell on the sections before. You just want to focus on each question and get really into a flow state where you're not worrying about much apart from solving the problem in front of you. So the only two things I kind of remember are one, like some of the verbal reasoning stuff at the start, and also that quantitative reasoning I found really easy and I breezed through all the questions and I ended up getting 900 on it. It was my best section. And also, yeah, I just remember being quite chill in situational judgment. Like situational judgment, you get there, you have all the time in the world. It's just about answering the questions correctly, reading scenarios. So it's really only the first four sections that are quite intense. So that's all I really remembered from the testing experience. An important thing for you guys to know is that be aware of your pen and your whiteboard marker. So if my whiteboard marker was fine, I have heard some people's were quite dry and didn't work. So get that checked before like before you start the exam. Otherwise, it's hard. And with the whiteboard, the way it worked for me, may be different for testing centers and other people, was that I had a double-sided laminated sheet, grid paper, and I could write on it. The problem with it is that I couldn't wipe it out afterwards because, one, I didn't have like wet tissues, and two is that it's time consuming, and they wouldn't give me more. So I wouldn't give me more like at once. So what I had to do was I had to put my hand up, and the lady would see me on the camera and come into my room and give me my whiteboard. And I think, yeah, I had to hand my old whiteboard out as well. So those are some really key things to just think about. Like, don't obsess over it, but just remember that when you're writing something, have your hand up a bit early, so that the lady or whoever's invigilating your exam sees you early, and especially if there are other people who are also need the same service. And also, because they take your whiteboard page away, make sure you're sort of finished with what you're doing, because or you remember what it is so that you can copy it down onto the next whiteboard marker. I think that's the most important takeaway from this during the test period. Okay, after the test, something quite strange that happened with my test is that it just took ages to get to me. So I did mine at 10 a.m. and the results only came to me at about 7 p.m., which was very late compared to other people. Some people talk about, they get to the car park and theirs is out. Anyway, so right after the exam, I felt quite exhilarated, and also not like completely sure how I did. So I really wanted to get above 3,000. I think that's just like a benchmark to have. And the numbers were crunching in my head and all that. I knew my quantitative reasoning was definitely very, very good. Like, I did all the questions, I could do all of them, and I finished all of it with time remaining. I'll be making a video on quantitative reasoning, so if you're interested in how I prepared for it, stay tuned. And apart from that, though, I didn't really know how I did. I know abstract reasoning, I didn't get a lot of patterns. Decision making was okay. Situational judgment, I don't really know. Like, I do the best I can. And for verbal reasoning, I thought I did decently, but I did worse than I did. But all those thoughts, post-test thoughts, were crunching in my head. It just felt good to have such a big test over, even though I didn't quite know the result yet. And at night when I got the result, I was pretty happy. I called up my friends because I was just happy I got it out of the way. I could move on with my life, with my preparation for the next stage of my testing, which was VC. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's video. If you have questions about anything I might not have mentioned or you've heard about with UCAT test day, just put them in the comments below, DM me, email me, whatever. I'll be happy to answer them. Good luck with your UCAT prep, and I hope you guys did well for those of you who have actually sat the UCAT already. I will be making hefty videos on the UCAT coming up, so really stay tuned for those. It will be very exciting. Once again, good luck for your prep, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.